In any competitive game, offense and outputting damage is only part of the equation. At the end of the day, you can't get anywhere if you're constantly getting killed just to get your own kill. Having great reflexes and good aim is only part of the equation. If you find yourself lacking in things like game sense, you'll probably hit a plateau in terms of improvement pretty quickly. So if you always find yourself the first one crawling on your knees in every fight,
I'm telling y'all, the game is a lot more fun when you up and shooting.
Today we're going to talk about survivability and how to stay alive longer in your games. And honestly, some of the answers may surprise you. And speaking of surprising answers, I wouldn't be surprised if y'all find this answer kind of annoying, but wait, don't click off, because first we're going to talk about hot dropping. Wait. Before y'all start wishing my thumbs break off next time I pick up the controller, y'all might want to hear this. Now, I know I've said this in other videos before, but to put it simply, avoiding fights for the majority of every lobby does not help you get any better at the game, not even if you're playing ranked. I remember there were a couple guys I used to run with, and their playstyle was to land far away from every other team on the map, spend the majority of the game going around looking at the same stacks of ammo and white standard stocks and blah blah and every loot pill, just to get to the end game and die immediately. And this was in pubs, and they did this every single time. You want to know why this strategy doesn't work at helping you get any better at the game? Well, by the time you spend the first 2 rounds looting and the rest of the lobby is going around fighting each other, the enemy teams you run into will well outmatch you in terms of things like armor, attachments, synergy, and just overall momentum. And the last 2 are especially important if you play this game solo, which we all honestly know is just a damn nightmare. As a solo queuer, you have no idea what your teammate's playstyle is going to be like unless they start the game landing on the edge of the map, in which case, yeah, we already know how that's going to go. But without the knowledge of what to expect from them in terms of moving, fighting, and overall game sense, you're already at a disadvantage against all the probable 3 stacks in your lobby. Couple that with it being 5 squads left and not a single one of you having shot a bullet yet, and you're all probably going to be running around like headless chickens when things start to pop off. The other teams in the lobby, they've spent the time doing everything I just described and have built momentum and energy from traveling around clearing out the lobby. Apex Legends is a battle royale, with fighting ability and game sense being the main factors to determine whether you're able to make it to the end. Other factors come into play like momentum, team synergy, playstyle recognition, and learning how much trust you can lend to your teammates. But these are all things that are developed by learning how to fight with them. Now, granted, when I say hot dropping, I'm not necessarily talking about landing on top of 17 different teams and getting your shit pushed back immediately. If you don't feel like you're able to handle landing on those hot pockets of fighting, land near the hot zone and rotate in before all the fighting is done so you can get a chance to join in on the action. Or, alternatively, land near another team or where another couple teams are landing and move in quickly to third party that or start a fight before the team even knows you're there. Starting the game off with some early kills and some momentum can definitely help carry the energy for the rest of the game and help you learn what your teammates can and can't do when it comes to fights. The objective of the game is to stay alive until the end, but if the end comes and you're still running around in La La Land, then you're probably not going to fare too well when you get ran down on. And this type of mindset is mainly for pubs. I mean, if your focus in ranked is placement and placement only, then that could be your prerogative. But just know you'll never really improve in terms of fighting teams and staying alive when it's time to actually get into a fight. So basically, what it boils down to is that hot dropping helps you learn the terrain, which in turn improves game sense. You won't know how to fight in most places if you never do, because you spend most of the game avoiding fights. Make it a habit to take time out of your games to actively land in places near teams, where you have to fight in places you're more unfamiliar with, so that no matter where you are on the map, you have a good chance to fight back.
You're not the real Watson, motherfucker. Wadi Pet Cat. And you want Loba? Man, if you don't, go ahead.
Now, as for this next part, I don't know who needs to hear this or why you even need to be told this in the first place, but for the love of God, heal your goddamn health. If you are not at full health and you are not actively aiming with your gun ready to shoot, moving to a position to get ready to shoot, rezzing a teammate, backing up the reset, something, you need to be healing your health. I can't tell you how many fights I've been in where the difference between me winning and losing was the extra 25 health that I got off a shield cell before the enemy swung me around the corner. There are so many opportunities during a fight where you're not healing and you need to get out of that habit. I think some of y'all are scared that you're gonna get caught with your gun down in the middle of healing, but let's look at this in a practical way. Say you're healing, you surprisingly hear footsteps coming around the corner. Your shield cell is almost done, and there goes the guy trying to get you to sign up for Verizon Internet. You have two options in this situation. One, stick the heal, move further behind cover, and make it that much harder for them to kill you for the probably 0.7 seconds left that you have on your heal. Or two, cancel the heal, move behind or over some cover, and reposition to take the fight. Either way, the enemy isn't just gonna go, oh, well, he's healing, so let them get that shield battery off so we can be all fair and equal. No, they just gonna put a clip into you. You need to always be making sure that you're at the most health possible before engaging an enemy. One thing you'll notice I almost always do after I down an enemy is reset behind some cover and immediately go to recover lost health. If not, immediately kill the downed enemy and shield swap off of them. There needs to be an immediate connection in your mind between free time, heal, re-engage. After all, it's a lot easier to win more fights when you have more health, right? And on the topic of health, you also probably need to be more privy to your health as well and how quickly it can actually go down.
Cause you don't want to end up like this, do you? First, second, one of the two. Oh shit. Oh shit. I guess it was. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my God.
And one of the best ways to stay alive is to obviously keep your health from going down. So a good way to do that is to put yourself in position to do a lot of... Now, you may not realize this, but one of the main reasons you're probably dying a lot is because you're trying to fight the enemy like it's an American Revolutionary War battle. You don't need to be up close enough in their face to see the whites of their eyes, because this head-on approach is just going to end up with them applying bullets directly to your forehead. Playing off angles can also be known as something I've made a few TikTok and YouTube shorts about before. And there's a version of it I like to describe as being the backup turret that I planned on making an entire video on its own. With that being said, I felt like it worked better as a component of the broader idea of staying alive longer, so we'll delve deeper into that in a little bit. Now, playing off angles is something that can be better accentuated by game sense, and one thing to always keep in mind is that experience will make you a lot more likely to choose the correct angles of approach that the enemy will take, which also allows you to watch that angle from a position of safety. One thing that you definitely need to keep in mind in Apex Legends, or really any kind of FPS game, is that the common average player is a lot more prevalent than the mid to high level player. The average player is going to make this simple, easy, quote unquote, right there choice more often than not. Your objective in playing off angles is to capitalize off of these choices and punish players for falling into your trap. Effectively identifying and playing off angles as a more average player allows you better positioning to support your team and even potentially be the reason you're winning some of your fights. Another important thing to take note of when playing off angles is what I talked about earlier in terms of being a backup turret. What this basically boils down to is you recognizing which of your teammates is the most equipped in terms of movement, aggression, and aim, which honestly can boil down to just paying attention to them and the kill feed, and using this information to play a supporting role when that teammate gets into a fight. Now, as I said earlier, being a backup turret is basically just you playing off angles and putting yourself in a good position to support your teammate when they get into a fight and they end up being a decoy or drawing the enemy's attention. Let me show you some examples. Here's how you can help your team in more of a support offensive type of role without putting yourself too much at risk. A lot of fights in this game either end as straight up 1v1 duels or getting shot in the back trying to run away. So putting yourself in position to support your team and put in damage on a tunnel visioned enemy can get you some good damage and some good kills, all while still being a good teammate and helping y'all get closer to that champion screen at the end. You don't have to be a support player or take the support position to support your team, and recognizing your playstyle is important if you want to improve. You need to work on refining your strengths and strengthening your weaknesses, and if you're weaker at being the aggressive opening playmaker, Supporting a teammate who is can lead you to great success. And on a final note, even though being a supporting player can lead to you being a better player, there's only so much of an impact you can have on your team if you don't learn to. And this is going to be the shortest section because it's kind of pretty much straightforward. Being able to think for yourself and make your own decisions and do things to put yourself in good positions to support your team in games like this will make you a lot better of a teammate and help your chances for staying alive a lot better than you just needing to hold someone's pocket trying to figure out what to do in every game. Learning how to identify angles, take good positions, take good shots, put yourself in the place to support your teammate so that they don't end up getting 1v3'd every time they get into a fight will only lead to you being able to survive longer, because these games are team-based games, and if you have a team to fight the other team, then that makes you a lot more likely to survive, right? So to top it all off, two of the last things that I want to talk about when it comes to how to last longer. I'm so immature. That sounds so crazy. And the first one, and more to the point section, is basically some of y'all are having a lot of trouble keeping up with your teammates or paying attention to the current fight going on at hand, or basically just being aware of what's going on around you, which is a necessary component to survive. And one thing I really just want to make this clear to y'all. Apex Legends is a fast-paced movement looter shooter. There are 57 other players in the lobby at a maximum. That means that there is a very likely chance that you are going to run into another team out of nowhere. We know how the game has prevalent issues when it comes to audio and just things making sense. So you can't go into situations just expecting for you to just be calm and safe and it just to be peaceful and tranquil. At the end of the day, you should be treating every situation as the seconds right before the jump scare in a horror movie. You should always be of the mindset that there's either a team that's looking for you and is probably near you not making any type of noise, because we know how this game is. Or you need to be on the lookout and know what's going on around you and be aware so that when things happen, you're not just utterly unprepared. Paying attention to things like the minimap, voice lines, your teammate's nameplate where they have the shooting icon that goes off whenever they're shooting at somebody. Just things that the game gives you that allow you to have just little tidbits of info about what's going on around you. And it's probably the reason why you're having so much trouble doing anything other than crawling on your hands and knees every time you get into anywhere where bullets start flying. And if you haven't checked out my video on sliding, I know, shameless plug, but you might want to do that after this video. Basically, what I broke down in that video was how you can use sliding and some of the slide maneuverability in the game to move faster and enable you to get behind, around, and away from your enemies quicker. With that being said, those tactics don't always work just for getting around your enemies and repositioning in fights. They can help you keep up with your teammates and stop ending up being the last Mohican 800 feet behind everybody else on their team that's actually trying to fight people and shoot their guns. And while we're on the topic of moving around and shooting your guns and positioning, that gives me the perfect segue to talk about the last topic of this video. And I know I've said this in videos before, but mediocre aim and good positioning can beat out good aim and good movement and all of that other stuff. Now, wait, because I like all the movement stuff myself, and I know some of the movement aficionados are probably out there like,
well, if I 180 tap strafe super jump off a wall and then I hit a mantle and then I super punch blah blah, he can't hit.
Yeah, but first of all, with how prevalent the complaints about aim assist are in this game, I genuinely don't want to hear that from anybody. But at the same time, and the point that I'm actually trying to get across is, and I'm probably the poster child for this, even in games and even on days when your aim just isn't working in your favor, constantly breaking your enemy's line of sight and repositioning and moving out of the way of where their cursor and their screen is looking can give you an edge in their fights, especially depending on what their sensitivity and all of that other kind of stuff is. At the end of the day, whether you hate aim assist, love it, abuse it, can't stand it, it's a feature in the game. So with a lot of people, close range fights are gonna leave you at a disadvantage, or you may be on equal footing because of, or the lack of aim assist is just something you have to deal with in the game. With that being said, I said this in my no aim assist challenge video, close range fights can definitely be scary sometimes in this game. And I mean scary in terms of, well, do you know how fast your health bar can go down? Of course you do. We talked about that earlier. So imagine you being in a situation where there's more than one person dumping a R9 at the side of your head. You're probably going to end up back in the lobby before the end of the Windows XP error sound. So your goal in close range fights is to be constantly breaking your enemy's line of sight and making them have to constantly move their cursor color, their screen, their character, and all of that just to find you, let alone be able to pinpoint where you are and track you. One thing you'll notice if you watch me on Twitch, shameless plug again, or just any of the videos on this channel, I rarely ever, if I ever do, in a close range fight someone from just the same position, unless I feel like I have the upper hand and I'm cool with just being in that one spot. Another thing this kind of thing does too, if you have teammates that are actually paying attention or aren't scared to shoot their gun, it plays into what we talked about earlier in terms of being a backup turret, but you can actually create backup turrets because you can lead enemies into situations where they're gonna end up getting shot up. Now, let's be real, you and I and a lot of other people that play this game are more than likely tunnel visioned. If you think you're not, you're probably one of the main people that is. That's just how things like that work in life. With that being said, being tunnel visioned in your fight and focusing only on completing the objective of killing one person or ending one person before they can get back to their team can put you in a lot of positions and situations where you basically just fucked yourself over. I say all this to say, these are the type of positions and situations that you want to create for the other team. If someone is chasing you around a structure or chasing you around a box and they're focused on killing you or getting off that last 50 health that you have, they're probably not listening or paying attention to your teammates, or they're trying to hurry up and get the kill on you and get back to their teammates before you can get back to yours. So this is something that you can take advantage of, and whether you're the person playing decoy creating backup turrets or you're the teammate observing that you can be a backup turret, this is something that you should take advantage of. A lot of times in this game, it's easy to get easy kills from people who aren't paying attention, and when you get shot, you're gonna dead slide and it's gonna slow you, and all of that kind of stuff is gonna make it that much more difficult for you to get away from the enemy team, or consequently, the enemy team to get away from you. So this is something that you want to take advantage of. Find people and put people in situations where their awareness and what they're paying attention to isn't necessarily up to par. It's kind of like your teammates set a trap and you're just waiting for the enemy to walk into the trap so that you can put a clip into their back and kill them and make the fight that much easier. But one of my favorite things to do when I'm actually fighting in this game, and especially why I love zip lines and doors and things like that, I'm always doing some slippery squirrel shit. I'm always jumping over a box, going up a zip line, going around a pillar. There's something that I'm gonna do to make sure that the enemy has to move around and readjust everything they're doing just to be able to see me, let alone actually shoot me. And I've talked about this before, but with how fast-paced this game is and all the different obstacles and just things that you could do in the game, not everyone has the same processing speed when it comes to processing all of the information that the game gives them. And that's not me dissing anybody, that's just how things are. So this is something that you want to take advantage of when it comes to people. Someone might not necessarily realize that you going around a corner means that you can climb up a box and drop down to the side of them, instead of them just walking around the corner and you just standing there like a deer in headlights trying to hit a shield cell and dying for it. A lot of people see things in this game in terms of set paths. If you're shooting someone from around a box, they're gonna come around from the side of the box and expect you to be there. So if you climb up around, you can get down behind them and they won't even be paying attention because their focus is on where you were. So with that being said, before I end up holding y'all here for 8 years, let me show you some examples of how just slight repositioning and constantly breaking the enemy's line of sight can lead you to wins in fights, or at the very least, lead you to not dying when you have an entire team trying to send you to the Shadow Realm. And some of these are older, some of these are more recent, as you'll see on the screen, but I kind of just wanted to give the full depth of just how, even if you aren't necessarily the most skilled at the game, or you're kind of lower or mid-tier, which I was at the beginning of these clips, and I'm probably still, honestly, I won't even lie, you can still find success in it either way. And the rest of this is going to be pretty much live commentary, so I apologize if it's not as scripted as the beginning of the video. So at this point, I got a teammate down, another teammate lost, and this just isn't the best position. So I back up so I can move myself to a place where when he rains down bullets on us again, I can send some back. He does it, sends off the missiles, shoots again, and he gets clipped because I broke his line of sight and he wasn't paying attention to where I had moved. In this clip, surprisingly, I actually did end up hearing audio, so after I killed the Bangalore, I knew that there was another team around. So I immediately dropped down here to where I can reset and reload and just get a beam on where the enemy is even coming from so that I can know where to approach the situation from. So at this point, I realized that I can go back up and help my teammates, but if you notice, the position that I stay in gives me two different good options to break their line of sight. I can either go around the pillar in front of me and go through the window and go through the building, or I can drop back down to where I just reloaded and swing around the side of the corner and break their line of sight that way. Either way, the main objective is to put yourself in positions where even if things go wrong, you have ways of escape or ways that you can at least stop the enemy from shooting you for a split second while you decide how you're gonna get out of there. Here, I'm just trying to find a gun and I got stormtroopers dropping down on me. So I immediately cut into the shower area to prep my gun because, you know, guns on Apex Legends need prep time. Apparently they're Batman now. And as small as it is, jumping can be another way to break someone's line of sight too. It's a slight micro adjustment that they have to make that can end up throwing them off their game. Now this is one of my favorites. If you've seen my channel intro, you've seen this before. So here I get hit with the arc star. I know there's this box here. So you see how I'm constantly repositioning, going around it, going up it, dropping down. Basically, I'm doing a lot to make sure that the enemies never can just keep a clear line of sight of me. Going around the box to cock my gun, things like that. Jumping up here, going behind the box. I do a lot of this in games because at the end of the day, the harder you make it for your enemy to keep their cursor and their reticle on you, and the more difficult it is for them to actually, you know, stick their aim onto you, the more likely you are to survive because the less likely you are to get hit by bullets. So now we're back in current times. I'm gonna slide out here and miss half my clip because I'm still learning no aim assist. Go out here and immediately as I'm getting shot at, I run in here and break their line of sight so that they have to either push me or do something to find me. Unfortunately, their teammate came over here and got cooked, and I know that means that there's somebody that's gonna be coming to support him soon, and there they are already. So you notice I do this a lot, and this is something you should be doing. Between every shot and every just little movement, if I have to reload, cock my gun, anything, I'm going around a rock, below a rock, because you never just want to be out in the open trying to cock your gun and reload your gun. People are going to take advantage of this and it will make you lose fights. So dip behind cover or go around a wall, behind a rock, use a head glitch, something if you need to reload or switch guns or anything. So here, I'm constantly using this head glitch and I know where we're at. Unless they have a grenade that they throw over here, if they get over here before I get this res off, I can just jump up the rock and go behind them and end up repositioning and win the fight. Thankfully, they were not bold enough to push me around that rock. For this next part, I'm not going to do too much explaining. I just want you to keep an eye on and be focused on just how I'm using the terrain and the level design to my advantage to keep the enemy from having open opportunities to get shots off on me. And also, how I'm constantly positioning myself in places where I can have an escape route if things go wrong, because as you'll see, I'm gonna end up solo.
Where the fuck? I would love to hear some audio on this game for once.
And as we all know, the number one way to increase survivability is to be able to hear people running up to you to shoot you in the side of your head, but, you know. So for here, I'm just shooting, peeking in and out, using the rock to reload when I need to. I notice my teammate knocks somebody and they start to push up, so I push up with them. But I stay left side just in case anybody decides to stick their head out and shoot me, because that's what I would do in that situation, and I don't have enough info. So I knocked the Gibby, but I'm still hesitant to push in because I haven't done entry damage on the lifeline yet, and I see the Valk is now up. So a couple well-placed grenades and some missiles can turn this situation into it being not in our favor. And after we finally take out the Gibby, I move up and eliminate the lifeline. And one thing you'll notice that I do with this little pole is make myself a lot more of a threat while putting myself a lot less in danger. Let me explain. Now, me dipping and dodging around this little pole is going to constantly break their line of sight and make them lose focus on me. And with me being just one of 3 people shooting at them in this small space right here, they're not going to have the best opportunity to keep shooting at me and keep focused on me. So they're going to have to switch their focus to my teammate. But I'm still here and I'm still able to get shots off on them. So from a mindset perspective, they're going to go into a little bit of sensory overload trying to figure out who to pick to shoot at and who's actually the biggest threat. And this is the opportunity that you want to create so that you can get easier kills and end up winning your fights better. As you see here, we get thirded immediately. And what I do right here is something that I want to talk about called creating advantageous areas. You see how I ducked into this little pocket on the left, right? Well, for an enemy to even be in a position to shoot at me, they have to be in this wide open area that you see in front of me. There's the care package and the replicator right there for cover, but for the most part, there's not really any area out there where they can be in that they have a good shot on me, where they're not just in a wide open area. And you know, people being in wide open areas on this game is one of my biggest pet peeves, because as we discussed earlier, if you get 1, 2, 3 or even 1, 2, your health bar can go poof, and then, you know, it's nothing you could do. So eventually Maggie comes back and she's not properly utilizing the head glitch, so she gets cooked immediately. If you have a head glitch or some type of obstacle or cover or something you could use, please use it. Please just duck for cover. It's gonna help you in the end, I promise. Last and certainly least, this just goes to show how quickly the tide of a fight can turn, and how constantly ducking in and out of cover can end up saving you in the end. Survivability in a fighting game, shooting game, FPS game, any of that kind of stuff is about you learning how to keep your health up while you take your enemy's health down. And while it may seem straightforward and duh, obviously, a lot of people just tend to somehow find difficulty when it comes to doing that. I don't get it. With that being said, if you took anything from this video, just keep in mind the fact that it's a lot easier for you to stay alive if you put a lot more of a focus on keeping enemies away from you by keeping your health up and preventing them from being able to do the same thing. Just doing little basic things like constantly breaking your enemy's line of sight and making it that much harder for them to even see where you are can lead you to victory in your fights, or at the very least lead you to being able to get away to where you can fight another day. Because at the end of the day, especially if you're used to playing in competitive, if you can get away, a lot of times you can end up being the one to reset your team and bring y'all back in the game, and y'all might be able to get the win in the end. And unless you're farming kills and just trying to get good clips and highlights and all of that other kind of stuff that is every Apex player's dream nowadays, learning how to survive and win more fights, or stay alive in more fights and ultimately end up staying alive until the end, will lead you to a lot more success and victory in terms of actually playing the game. And if you have any type of competitive aspiration or want to do anything competitive with this game, or just want to climb up the ranks and get better, being able to survive a lot longer in your games and actually make it to the end, or at the very least make it past the first 10 squads, is definitely a skill that you're going to want to learn and take advantage of. And well, if you can't survive past your first fight, you're never going to survive until the top 3 squads. And at the end of the day, the #1 way, above all, to increase your survivability in any game is to better your game sense and increase your knowledge of the game and the things that go on inside of it. With that being said, check out this video for more tips on how to get better game sense and ultimately pretty much rapidly improve in any game that you end up playing.